It's very natural for people in the UK simply to say sorry as a conversation gap. And, we'll hear it many, many times. We'll probably say it many, many times over the day. Does that mean we're apologising? Well, maybe we're just sympathising with somebody else's concerns. Lee Anderson has said that he's not going to apologise for using the term Islamist or Islamism and for smearing Sadiq Khan. A spokesperson from GB News, the political editor, Christopher Hope, read out what Anderson had told him. I'm going to read it. If you're wrong, apologising is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. But when you think you're right, never apologise, because to do so would be a sign of weakness. Well, there we are. So we have it. Lee Anderson is a person who is signalling strength. Well, there we are. There we are. Signalling strength and isolation. There are many ways of apologising. You can over-apologise, of course, like over-complimenting. And it's easy to think that when you're over-apologising, you're being polite, but maybe you're just simply signalling that you have no confidence. So that's not the Lee Anderson position, is it? My goodness, does Lee Anderson have confidence? Lee Anderson is the tough nut who runs around the place telling everybody how confident he is. The people who are constantly apologising, of course, are annoying, and Lee Anderson is trying very hard to say that he is not annoying. And also, over-apologising can lower your self-esteem. It can decrease your feeling of power or control or integrity. Of course, it can equally, if you're saying sorry so aggressively, that can improve your sense of self-esteem. I'm sorry. Why won't you accept it? But what should we? What is the natural position for expressing regret? Many people in the UK are simply uncomfortable with the word no, and therefore the apology comes in as a way to massage the negative. And Lee Anderson is presumably demonstrating that is not part of his nature. This is the slob who walks around the place and at home, who goes on camera in his T-shirt and doesn't care who he offends. He will wear his T-shirt with pride and thug around the place. Well, it's not necessary to everybody's taste. When you're an elected MP, I think you should be making a bit more of an effort. I think one should be making a bit more of an effort to accommodate one's idiosyncrasies to the expectations of one's constituents. But Lee Anderson has a troubled background, and I think it's more important for Lee Anderson to establish his macho image rather than to represent the entirety of his constituency. And anyway, maybe he's just lingering in the foyer of reform before he finally signs on the dotted line and becomes the first MP in Parliament to represent Reform, this new party, which is basically a rebrand of Brexit. He wouldn't be, therefore, the first MP of that particular mould. That's already happened, but they haven't had very many MPs, although they do have quite a lot of popular support. But that's part of the issue that should be addressed about the inadequacy of the first-past-the-post electoral system. I think we should be looking seriously at some form of some sort of reform of our electoral system. I was going to plump for one particular reform then, and I thought, no, there are so many variations on that, and I don't want to get into that at this particular moment. We went through all that in the 1970s and 1980s when the Lib Dems and the SNP and the SDP were seriously contesting for power, and they never quite got that, and they never broke the mould of our parliamentary system. Maybe reform can do that. I think there's everything to be said for breaking the mould and increasing the quality of debate. And that's not to suggest that I'm backing reform. I'm not. But I do back a diversity of opinion, even if it's opinions expressed by Lee Anderson. I would prefer the opinions and slightly less of the testosterone. But there we are. Much wants more. We can't always have what we want.